Two worlds, one you can see, and one that sees you. The supernatural realm is real, it's close, and sometimes it crosses over. When it does, nothing is ever the same. America's Lady of Supernatural Thrillers, Marianne Paul, is here to take you straight into the shadows. This is Real Ghost Chatter. True tales from the other side. Let's begin.
Welcome to Real Ghost Chatter. I'm Marianne Paul. Most of the time on this podcast, we talk about the dark end of the supernatural. The things that press in from the shadows, that linger where they don't belong, that make your skin crawl in an empty hallway at 3 a.m. But the supernatural world has another side. And today, that is the side we are going to explore. Today's episode is about what happens when heaven reaches down into the worst moment of a human life. When the situation is impossible by every measure, the physics are wrong, the odds are stacked, the outcome should be death, and something changes it. Something intervenes. Something that nobody can fully account for. I have spent a great deal of time researching 2 stories for today. 2 accounts from real people who experienced something that no rational framework can contain. Both of them have told their stories publicly, repeatedly, and at personal cost. Neither of them has changed their account. Neither of them has walked it back. I believe what they experienced was real. And I believe the being who intervened was sent. Let me tell you what happened. It was a Saturday afternoon in April 2015. And Pastor John Boston was behind the wheel of his car on Airport Road in Columbus, Ohio. He was a young man, newly married. He and his wife Carla had a 4-year-old daughter named Riley. He had just accepted a position with the Central Seventh-day Adventist Church and moved the family to Columbus, beginning the kind of life that, in those early days, feels full of promise. The drive was ordinary. The sky was ordinary. The road was the same road it always was. Then a car crossed the center line and came straight at him. He swerved hard. His car left the road and struck a utility pole. The impact sent a live transformer crashing down directly onto the hood of his vehicle. What happened next, Pastor Boston has described in detail many times. He was not in shock when he spoke about it. He was precise. He wanted people to understand exactly what it was like inside that car. He said the electricity hit immediately. He said he could feel it, thousands of volts coursing through the vehicle, through every surface he was touching. He watched the windshield begin to melt. Not crack, not shatter. Melt, the way wax melts when held over a flame, the glass turning soft and dripping in slow rivulets down into the interior of the car. The passenger window folded inward from the heat. The air smelled of burning metal and something sharper underneath it. Something electrical that had no name he knew for it. He reached for the seatbelt buckle. It would not release. He tried again. The mechanism had fused. He was trapped inside a car that was alive with current, with glass melting onto him, with the door pressed shut by the impact and sealed further by the heat. And he understood in that moment that he was not going to be able to get out. He said later, "No one should have been able to touch that car. I shouldn't have survived." Yet, a man appeared. Pastor Boston described him as short, scruffy-looking, average in every way, the kind of person you would not look twice at on the street. He came out of nowhere. There was no car, no crowd, no visible explanation for how he had arrived at that specific stretch of road in the seconds between the crash and the moment he appeared at the window. The man reached down and opened the car door, not with effort or tools. He simply opened the mangled, heat-fused door of a car running with enough electricity to kill anyone who touched it. He reached in, took Pastor Boston by the arm, and helped him out of the vehicle. Then he put his hand on Boston's back and walked him away from the car. He guided him 20 yards through the field, across ground where the current from the transformer was still radiating, to a place where he was safe. And there the man stopped. He looked at Pastor Boston and told him his name. He said, "My name is Johnny. The police are almost here, and I can't be here when they get here. But you're going to be okay." And then he was gone. The first responders arrived within moments. They found Pastor Boston standing alone in the field, 20 yards from his burning car. They searched for the man who had pulled him out. No one matching his description was found anywhere in the vicinity. The area was open and remote. There was nowhere to go, no crowd to disappear into, no vehicle to climb into and drive away. Veteran Columbus firefighters were interviewed afterward. These are men who have spent careers around electrical accidents. They were direct about what the evidence showed. No one, they said, should have been able to touch that car. The circuit breaker on a transformer of that kind is designed to reset itself and resume current, and the power company confirmed afterward that the area never lost electricity. The current was still running through Pastor Boston's vehicle when the fire department arrived on scene. A senior firefighter said of the scenario, "The person who touches that car is on the ground. Even shuffling your feet away from the vehicle is risky. The way you have to move is in small jumps, keeping your feet together to avoid creating a circuit through your legs. Two people walking casually across that ground should not have survived." Pastor Boston was treated at the hospital for minor injuries. His wife Carla, when she heard the account, said what many people who love him have said since. "We are just amazed. There is no reason that man was able to get in the car. He has never wavered." He has told this story hundreds of times from the pulpit and in interviews. Each time the details are the same. The name is the same. The instruction is the same. "I can't be here when they get here." And he was not. I want to pause here for a moment before we go to the second story. Both of the accounts you are going to hear today involve a being who appears at the exact moment of crisis, does what is required, offers a brief reassurance, and then removes himself from the scene before anyone with authority arrives. That pattern is striking. In both cases, the being does not linger, does not seek recognition, does not remain to be questioned or photographed or put on the evening news. He comes. He does what was sent to do. He leaves. Hebrews 1 verse 14 describes angels this way. "Are they not all ministering spirits, sent out to serve for the sake of those who are to inherit salvation?" Sent, serving, and gone once the service is done. The second story carries all of those same marks. But the circumstances surrounding it are among the most documented and verified in modern history, because they occurred in a place where the entire world was watching. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Janelle Guzman was 30 years old and working as an administrative assistant for the Port Authority of New York on the 64th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. She was not a woman of deep faith at that point in her life. She had grown up in Trinidad, raised by a mother who prayed, and had carried that faith loosely into adulthood, telling herself she would get serious about God later at 60 maybe, when life slowed down. She was young, and the city was bright, and there was time. There was no time. At 8:46 a.m. in the morning, the first plane struck. Janelle and her colleagues were told to stay put. For more than an hour, they waited. Then they made their own decision to leave, and she and a group of coworkers began their way down the stairwell. She and her friend Rosa were holding hands. At the 13th floor landing, Janelle let go of Rosa's hand to pull off her heels. In those hours, she told God everything. She made promises. She confessed. She asked for a miracle with a desperation that she said stripped away every pretense she had ever carried. She was not performing faith in that dark. She was reaching for it with everything she had left. Sometime in the 27th hour, she pushed her right hand upward through the rubble above her, just far enough to break the surface. A few inches. Her fingers in the open air. And a warm hand closed around hers. She felt it completely. The warmth of it, the firmness of the grip, the way it closed with intention, not accident. And she heard a voice, a male voice, Calm and steady in the middle of all that devastation, speak 4 words she has said were the most beautiful she has ever heard. He said, "I've got you, Janelle." She had not told him her name. She had not spoken. He told her his name was Paul. He told her she was going to be okay, and help was almost there. And then he held her hand and talked to her through the rest of the way, keeping her conscious, keeping her oriented, keeping her tethered to the world above her until she saw a glimmer of light and heard other voices and the sound of shovels moving debris. He told her he had to let go. She felt his hand release hers. Then someone else took it, and the rescue team began the work of pulling her free. Janelle Guzman was the last person pulled alive from the rubble of the World Trade Center. It was just after 12:30 in the afternoon on September 12th. She had been buried for 27 hours. None of her co-workers who had descended the stairwell with her survived. At the hospital, she asked about Paul. The rescue workers told her there was no one named Paul on their team. No one had seen anyone holding her hand when they reached her. Investigators went back to the physical space where she had been trapped. The accounts she later heard confirmed what she already suspected. There was no way for a person to have gotten in or out of that pocket of debris without the rescue team knowing. The space was too enclosed, too unstable, too dangerous. The team had navigated it carefully. They had not seen another person there. Janelle went on every major television program she could find. She was interviewed by Oprah. She was in Time and Guideposts. She wrote a book called Angel in the Rubble. For 10 years, she looked for Paul. She asked anyone who would listen. No one came forward. Then, 4 days after her book was published in 2011, a retired New York City firefighter named Tom O'Brien appeared at her front door with a bouquet of flowers. He was one of the rescue team from Brooklyn's FDNY Rescue 2 who had pulled her out. He had a name for her. One of his 9 colleagues, the man who had been at the front of the effort, the one who had first reached the space where she was trapped, was named Paul Salmon. Paul Salmon was a real man, a real firefighter, a hero by any human definition of the word. But when the full picture came together, the way he knew her name before she spoke, the way no one on the rescue team had seen anyone in that space when they arrived, the way the hand released and vanished in the moment the others took over the question, did not disappear. It shifted. A reader who wrote to Janelle's co-author after the revelation said it best. She wrote, "You know, it really doesn't matter whether he was an angel from above or if he was human. I believe he was still sent to her by God, and he will always be her angel." Janelle herself, speaking as recently as 2025, said, "I don't know if it's a firefighter or if it's an angel person, but I have been looking for that person, Paul, who was holding my hand for 24 years. She has kept every promise she made in the dark. She attends Brooklyn Tabernacle Church and travels the country sharing her story. She still works for the Port Authority, now at LaGuardia Airport. Janelle walks with a permanent limp from the injuries to her leg. She says she does not regret a single moment of what she endured. She says it was her wake-up call." Janelle says, "I know God saved me for a reason, and it has to be a plan and a purpose for me here." I want to take a moment to tell you about my books. If stories like today's speak to you, if the idea of the spiritual world pressing into the physical, for good or for ill, keeps you leaning forward, I think you would love the Raven's Cove Iconoclast series. 6 supernatural thrillers set in Alaska and East Texas. Real faith, real darkness, real battles for the souls of people who never asked for any of it. The newest book, The Tide Weaver, is out now. Start with Raven's Cove, Book 1, and let it take you somewhere you won't soon forget. Find all 6 at MaryAnnPaul.com or search Mary Ann Paul on Amazon. 2 men named Johnny and Paul. One appeared on an empty road in Columbus, Ohio, and walked a pastor through live electrical current to safety, then stepped out of the story before anyone with a badge could ask him questions. One appeared in the pitch-black interior of a collapsed skyscraper, called a dying woman by name before she had spoken, and held her hand for an hour in conditions that should have made his presence there impossible. In both cases, the witnesses are credible and consistent. In both cases, the physical circumstances have been examined by professionals, firefighters, rescue workers, medical personnel, who have confirmed that what happened should not have happened the way it did. In both cases, the being who intervened gave only what was needed: a hand, a voice, a name, a steady assurance that it would be okay. And in both cases, the moment the help arrived from the human side, the other presence withdrew. I believe in angels. I believe in a God who deploys them. I believe that the same supernatural world we explore on this podcast, the one that contains darkness and hauntings and things that should not exist, but do also contains beings of extraordinary purpose who move through our world on assignment, doing what they are sent to do, and returning to wherever it is they come from without any need for our acknowledgement. Psalm 91 verse 11 says, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Pastor John Boston was guarded on Airport Road in Columbus while his windshield melted. Janelle Guzman was guarded under 27 feet of rubble in Lower Manhattan while the world burned above her. And in both cases, what reached in was warm, what spoke was calm. What held on did not let go until it was safe to do so. That is the other side of the supernatural. And it is just as real. Thank you for spending this time with me today on Real Ghost Chatter.
The supernatural world is closer than we think. Sometimes it chills us. Sometimes it reminds us we were never alone. Two worlds, every single day. And the greatest power against the darkness has always been the light. Stay curious, stay faithful, and never mistake the darkness for the whole story. Thanks for listening. Until next time, may the sun always be on your face, the wind at your back, and the good Lord walk beside you.